Welcome to my channel and welcome to the video about January coloring results. Well, results are not great by number, but I still think that they are okay, considering that in January I managed to fall ill not one but two times, in the beginning and end of the month, also in the middle of the month with all the terrible news after very heavy shelling and destruction by Russians, civilian apartment buildings in Dnipro with many victims. I just tried to not fall apart from all the terrible news, and I definitely wasn't in the mood to do something. And when I wanted to color to forget reality for a little bit, I wanted to do something very simple, even very childish, just as I said, to make a small distraction from real life. That's probably my most popular book in January was this Matchstick Mouse, and I don't care that majority of pictures here they are Christmas related. I still enjoyed coloring here a lot. I tried to vary media which I use here. I used various pencil brands, I used markers, and I managed to finish 4 pictures. My mouse in January spent time with her friends. She has her snowman friend, and I absolutely love this worm. It's so adorable, maybe even more adorable comparing to the mouse. I think that here I used Arteza pencils. I definitely can recognize very intense greens, which I love in Arteza set. And on all the pictures I use a lot of white paint to smooth and to mask black lines to add a little bit more snow. So this one made with Arteza. The next picture with friend I did with Prismacolor pencils. Well, when I did first picture with Prismacolors, I wasn't very happy because I need something to blend Prismacolors on this paper, but I think that now I adjusted to Prismacolors here, so fur on the mouse and feathers, it was quite nice to color with Prismas. Maybe that's my favorite finished among the 4 pictures, but I also did pictures with mouse who went skiing here. What I used here, I don't remember, maybe Prismacolors, I guess, from the powder blue and great lavender colors, which I can definitely recognize on the snow, and process red magenta on the cap. I try to imagine various colors for the heads, for the scarves on the mouse. I think that it's in such ways pictures look more interesting and more fun. And after skiing, my mouse also went skating. Here I did a little bit of marker underpaint for the snow, for the pine trees, for the eyes, and then for the fur I used pencils on top of the marker first layer. Also, my new acrylic markers are very helpful on all these pictures. I love to add a little bit of texture on the fur, and I love to mask black lines on the ice, on the snow, on the pine trees. So they are nothing special, but they definitely helped me to color something in relatively short time without needing to be very creative, to go out of my comfort zone. So it was just to relax. Also, I did a couple of smaller books. You can see that here I have 2 books by Diana, Moon and Hunter, Ukrainian artist. In the beginning of the month I did 1 picture from her winter book, and of course it was again about skating. You know that I'm a huge fan of figure skating, so when I have in a book figure skating picture, I need to color it. Here I have again this naughty elf. This time I decided that I will put on her green dress, and I also was quite inspired to try Derwent Inktense here. So her hair, eyes, and I think that even her dress I made with Inktense pencils. Only for the skin I used Kohinoor Mondeluz water-soluble pencils. I love to use such pencils on this paper because it has interesting texture, very close to real watercolor paper, so it's a pleasure. Of course, I use a lot of white gouache also to create atmosphere of the snow evening. And I also wanted to show that from this lantern, from the lamp which she is holding, she has a lot of warm highlights on her dress, and all those sequins which I added here, they are also shiny. Then I tried to add a little bit of reflections on the snow and on her skin, but here I was less successful. Well, at least I learned something, and I definitely intend to use more of an Inktense pencils on this paper. But it's time to switch from a winter picture to the book dedicated to love, to the love spells, to the love magic, and it's a perfect book to start in the end of January and to color in February. So far in this cute little book I did just one page. I decided to use it as a test page. Paper in this book is different, it's much more smooth without any texture, so I wasn't sure how watercolors would behave here, but I was pleasantly surprised. I think that I managed to do quite nice and quick background. When I looked at this page, I immediately realized that one of my Van Gogh watercolor paints, granulating dusky pink, could be perfect for this dreamy background, and I used it here. Then a little bit of beige as an underpaint for the table. For the pomegranates, for the wine and gold, I used polychromos first, and then for the second pomegranate I used Prismacolors. I just wanted to test pencils on this smooth paper, and as I said, I was pleasantly surprised by watercolors, and both pencil brands behaved quite well here. I think that in February I definitely will try to do something else here. I appreciate small size here. You can get quite interesting and even complicated pictures, but because of the small size you can color something very quickly. Of course, in January I tried to color bigger amount of snow and winter pictures, and that's why another one of quite popular book for me in January was Mythographic. Of course, when I did my coloring plans in the first days of January, I planned to color many pictures in all my mythographic books because I collected already a lot of them. I wanted to start winter, wild winter, but I managed to do only frozen fantasies and paradise. Well, I hope that in February I will continue and I will try to use all my mythographic books. So in frozen fantasies I did 3 pictures. Let me put it more flat on the table. Well, let's start from my least favorite. Here I have ice cream where I wanted to try my new set of color pencils. If you watched my videos in January, you maybe know that I received as one of my Christmas gifts huge set of 300 color pencils, and I decided to test them here. Well, from my just one finished picture, I would say that I love how bright and intense they are, but I was slightly surprised by the waxy feeling. They definitely didn't allow me here to apply more than a couple of layers. Already on the second or third layer it was impossible to add more colors, so in a couple of areas you know, when you have new set, it's a little bit complicated to select from the first try your lightest color, your darkest color, and the mid-tone. So when I did a couple of mistakes and when I didn't feel that I found a right dark color, I wanted to darken some areas to increase my shading, I wasn't able to do it because of the waxy finish. So a couple of areas I later darkened with polychromos pencils on top of color. So I realized that I have to be more careful in selecting my gradients, but otherwise I think that they are nice. They are definitely very highly pigmented. Picture is bright. It's not my favorite because I don't like composition of the page. With a very busy left bottom corner here, we have relatively empty rest of the page, and with those lines which I first tried to mask with acrylic background, but they are still very visible, so I decided to do them but with white paint. They still don't balance the left bottom corner, and I feel that somehow those empty corners, they are a little bit disappointing, but I didn't have enough skills to add something from myself, to add some additional elements. So because of the initial image, I can't say that I love final result. I do love how I did waffle and various types of ice cream, especially chocolate. Maybe here we have peach and strawberry. So it was fun to imagine what kind of chocolate we have here and to color this cone. The rest less interesting, and I think that I almost ruined this building which we have in the central part. I just couldn't imagine which colors to use already. It was very colorful. So that's least favorite. Here I have not so bad picture. I think that I selected this one because I wanted to color blue flowers. I was thinking that a very intense dark blue background, blue flowers and those ice crystals, a little bit of blue and a little bit of pink, could be a nice hint that here we have actually winter book dedicated to everything snow, frozen, icy. And then I decided to use my usual contrast between warm and cold colors, which I use quite often on my pictures. So colors for the snail I selected from warm brown, ochre, terracotta palette of polychromos pencils. Well, again, on the last step when I had to color those buildings, I felt quite overwhelmed. So many colors used already, so many details. Sometimes it's what I feel on the last step when I color mythographic books, that overwhelming with details, and I can do not right color choice for the final element. But I think those red roofs together with a little bit of red on the butterflies, it saved picture a little bit, even if still I think that it's a little bit messy. But let's have a look at my favorite. Here I have my space penguins, and of this one I'm totally proud. I don't know if you can see it on the screen, but the background is shiny because on the industrial blue regular watercolor I also added magenta and pearl green, so it's very shiny if you look at it under day or electric light. Then I decided that they will stand on those ice crystals, and I do love how blue and mint green look with purple colors. I again use this color combo quite a lot, but I love it, and I decided that I can use it once again. Probably the most challenging part was how to color black penguins against the dark background, but I hope that with a little bit of shading which I added on the white part of their feathers, a little bit of gray here, and a little bit of slate gray which I added to highlight black feathers, they don't look flat and they are not lost against the dark blue background. So at least this picture I am quite proud of, and I think that it will be one of my favorite works in mythographic books. Well, and I also colored Paradise. What I have in Paradise, that's work in progress. Yeah, I did 2 works here. I had to check, sorry guys. So this one I somehow decided to do with pencil background. Sometimes I feel that it's boring to do background with pencils, but sometimes there are some days when I feel this simple pencil movements quite calming, and here's the whole background I made with Sucolor pencils. I actually love how Sucolor behave here. I tried to do this gradient from blue-green to the more cobalt green colors, and Sucolor, they have nice selection of such a range of blue-green, green-blue colors, but I also added couple of colors to the areas where I needed very light and pastel shades. Then for the seahorse, I used my favorite color combo of polychromos pencils, so I switched between sets just to feel more comfortable. For example, for the shells, I love to use clay rolls from Prismacolor, so I added it here to the blend because I wanted a very soft, slightly peach pinkish shade on the shells. And well, I wasn't sure in the green selection of colors which I used for the castle, but I simply tried to check which colors I already used for the buildings, for the castles in mythographic book. I didn't want to repeat myself, so green was interesting choice, and I think that it matched the rest of the colors here, and in the same time it doesn't distract attention from the seahorse. When I colored it until the last moment, seahorse was slightly lost, again because of the multiple elements around. But when I used acrylic marker in yellow color to outline some of the lines here, to mask black lines, to recreate the lines around it, which were slightly lost because of the pencils, I think that yellow acrylic marker helped my seahorse to stand against the background color quite nicely. The second one I also did completely with pencils. Here majority of colors I did with polychromos pencils. Only on the background I used couple of very light pastel like pale sage, gray, green light, Prismacolor pencils, but the rest it's polychromoses. Well, they behaved quite well on this paper. Sometimes I needed couple of layers, sometimes I managed to color even in one layer, but again a very important part here was for acrylic markers, which helped me to do this mane of the dragon, to add more light yellow lines to make it more prominent against the dark background. For me, the most challenging part was how to connect inner picture and outer picture. When I got the book, I immediately knew that I want this Chinese or Japanese dragon, Asian style dragon, to be in intense red or magenta color. But for the girl, I wanted to use something delicate like lilac or lavender for her kimono, and I wanted to make this dreamy blue-green background. Only when I decided that I can repeat the same colors on the bow on kimono and scales with the same violet color, I realized that in such a way I can make this color connection, because I was afraid that if I would use this magenta and red only on the dragon, the whole attention of the viewer will go only to the dragon and girl would be lost with pale colors of kimono. But here I think that now everything looks quite well. It was one of the few pictures where Fabiana Attanasio didn't add a lot of ugly elements. For the rest of the pictures, I struggled a lot with masking them. Here, hidden elements I managed to cover simply with intense and dark polychromos pencils. They are a little bit visible here and here, but I decided that it's okay. I won't be bothering myself by covering them with paint or something else. Their small shape here, it doesn't bother me. Well, mythographic works were okay, but as I said in the beginning of the month, I really hoped to start the rest of my mythographic books because I love all of them. I love books created by various artists, but somehow I can't start yet any books by Kattenbank, and somehow I always color pictures by Attanasio. I also have books by Alexandra Fiusi, and they also are untouched. I will try to correct this huge mistake in February, but at least pictures which I did in Paradise and in Frozen Fantasy I enjoyed to do. Well, I realized that even if I promised in the end of December that it's enough for me of all Christmas and winter pictures, I still ready to do something in winter books by Teresa Goodrich. I selected page where we have a lot of birds and a little bit of Christmas decorations, but it's okay because here the birdhouse is the most important element. I am not sure yet how I feel about this one. I started from the background, which is my usual way to do pictures in Teresa Goodrich books, and I decided to do something like bokeh background with very similar shades of blue, lighter and darker, and it looked quite okay, but page by itself is very detailed. We have many Christmas decorations, we have garlands, lanterns, we have various birds and two types of leaves. So first background was interesting, and I hoped that in such way it would be more interesting comparing to simple plain blue background. But in the end, when I added all those colorful elements also, it also felt a little bit overwhelming with this bokeh. But for me it was a good practice, so that's how I justify myself for adding such a background. The rest of it was quite fun to color. You know that I have very bad luck with cardinal birds. I absolutely love to color them, but I never managed to do them even if I already watched 100 times tutorials by Chris Cheng. Somehow they all look like very poor birds, but at least the rest of the birds, they were more lucky with my coloring. Anyway, it was fun to return to one of the Christmas books by Teresa, and I think that even in February I can color something here, because here we have pictures with elves and pictures where we have just small Christmas balls, Christmas ornaments, which I don't mind to color them even in February. I realized that I have already 3 winter books by Teresa. She already published another one which I don't have yet, but if I color them only in December, I never will be able to color all pictures which I would love to color here, because they all are gorgeous. That's why I decided that if it's possible, I will try to color at least something in January and February. But that's not all what I colored in Teresa Goodrich. I did just 2 pictures this month, but I love both of them. Another picture was also a victim of big experiment. Sorry, I forgot to put a bookmark. This one. Well, I wanted to make something interesting for the wall which we have on the top part of this page, and I remembered about a very interesting style of tiles. It's Portugal, Spain tiles called azulejo, probably. Sorry if I made mistake with my pronunciation, but it's beautiful blue and violet tiles, which maybe originally were from Dutch cultures, from Delft, but which are extremely popular even now in Portugal. So that's why I decided to add to the background here. Again, now maybe it's overwhelming, but in the process of coloring it was quite fun to invent my own designs for all the styles. I think that I managed to do 4 different designs, and I also added a little bit of more traditional terracotta colors to make connection to the rest of the furniture, to the rest of the element in the kitchen. It was quite traditional coloring for me in Goodrich books, very colorful, a lot of markers, Posca and Tule art used to mask some of the black lines on the leaves, on the pottery, on the tableware. Not very successful coloring on the dog, but at least some of the elements, I think that they look good. I do love how I tried slightly different color combo for more peach and reddish colors for the wood, for the furniture and floor. And as I said, even if the upper part, those tiles, they look slightly messy, still it was fun to color them. Probably my favorite part to color was to do all this tableware. I divided them into 2 groups, made from steel and made from brass, maybe, so in more yellow color combo, and it was quite fun to color. Anyway, this country kitchen is definitely on top of my books by Teresa Goodrich, and I wanted to color something else here. Well, but I had to postpone it for February. Another late Christmas picture I did in my only book by Klara Markova. I did this portrait of 3 cute owls and girl in a very beautiful winter coat. Here I even managed to use a couple of color soft pencils, a very light blue for the snow background. I wanted to do this page for a long time because those owls, they are adorable, they are very fun looking, but I didn't want to color them in boring way with just gray and brown colors. I wanted to make them more colorful, but in the same time, when I do pictures in Klara Markova, for me it's a very thin edge between distastefully colorful pages, which I manage to do sometimes when I use huge amount of colors, and colorful but in the same time well balanced. And I think that here I managed to achieve what I wanted by adding those blue, violet feathers together with brown, and in the same time it's not very overwhelming in colors. In the beginning, I need to confess, I wanted to use blue and violet for the feathers of one owl, and for the second one I wanted to use another, maybe green color combo. Now I'm very happy that I stopped myself, that they have similar feathers. In such a way, with mama owl in just brown and gray, and with children with slightly more colorful feathers, it look fantasy, it look festive, but in the same time it's not extremely colorful. I don't know how to say it, not offending this page. So I am glad that I limit my colors not to the full set of Prisma colors, but to the half of it. I decided that for the girl's coat I will use this cobalt turquoise, which definitely helps to look at her on the first moment, so she is probably the focal point here. I supported this color by using the same color for the Christmas decorations here, but still she is the most bright and most colorful element, and owls, they also are interesting to look at. So I was very pleased by myself. Usually I color quite slowly in Klara Markova because again of the many various objects. Sometimes I wish that we have lesser amount of details here, so I need to color something, I need to make a break for a day to think about colors, how I can limit amount of colors used. But here I think that everything worked quite well, at least much more um, easier comparing to my previous Christmas page, where again I used the whole set of Prismacolors and where maybe some of my color choices weren't the best. Here I think that it looked quite wintry because of this light blue background with white dots to represent snow and relatively pale green colors for the leaves. So I'm happy that I waited for a couple of years to start this one, but in the end I colored it exactly like I wanted and like I imagined. I think that maybe in February I will do another page from the Christmas part, because I really want to color all those baked goods. You know that I love to color gingerbread man and other cupcakes, yummy things, so I don't mind to do Christmas page even in February. I am always so disappointed in the end of December when I planned a lot of Christmas pictures and in 1 month I can do only limited amount of pictures, so I decided for myself that I don't mind to do them the whole winter. And finally we will have a look at Kerberazzanes. In December I started to work on the legend from Scotland. Here we have Finfolk. I think that it's Scotland, not Ireland. Well, anyway, here we have a legend about sea folks, those creatures called Finfolk. In December I managed to do the hill, a lighthouse, and the whole area of the sky. Here I color everything with pencils, so you can imagine that when I did this background with pencils, I combined polychromes and Prismacolors. My arm hurt, my hand was quite tired, so I needed a break. I made this break by doing December Christmas pictures, but of course in January I wanted to finish it. I did this water. It was challenging because here we have blue sky and blue water. Fortunately, in the polychroma set we have different shades of blue, so in the trend went to the sky, and more cobalt greenish colors, Prussian blue, went for the waters, and I think that they look nicely together. There is visible difference in the hue of blue on the sky and blue on the water. And when I decided to add a little bit of reflection of the light coming from the lighthouse, not only on the clouds here but also on the water, it was like nice finishing touch to this page. For the Finfolks I used also Prismacolor pencils like pale sage and various shades of French grays. They were quite helpful, but mostly for the remaining area of the page I used polychromasis. And I immediately started another one. I think that I was a little bit masochistic because I again started spread. This time here we have Greek mythology, here we have Scylla and Charybdis, two monstrous creatures, but they are situated near the shores of Italy, and I started from doing this first creature and stones behind it. I was probably inspired by dark ground created after volcanic eruption. You know that on Sicily we can find those dark areas of those dark stones, so that's why I did this dark background. Again, I did part of the page with polychromos pencils and I needed some break because again my hand started to fall apart. But I don't mind. I think that because of this break for several days, I will select colors for the rest of the page more carefully. Here I just need to do water. It's not very exciting. a little bit boring because I colored water recently, but I will try to find different color combo to practice for myself how to do water. And we have different sea here. Finfolds, they were in the colder northern seas. Here we have Mediterranean Sea near Italy, so maybe color of the water will be slightly different. And I somehow need to show that here we have another terrible creature, so maybe I will add a little bit of reddish shades to the central part. And beautiful Greek style ships. I hope that in the first days of February I will finish it, and in the final February video I will show you another finished spread in Rosanna's. Of course, I am disappointed by my speed, how I color in this book, because I want to color it from the first until the last page, but at least I didn't abandon it. I finished huge spread and I was very happy with the result, exactly like I wanted it. I did it without any technical problems, just a lot of time. And I am glad that instead of something more simple, I started another very detailed spread. So just wish me luck and wish strength to my hand and arm. Thank you, and I hope that even if February is quite short, I still will have something interesting to show you in the end of the next month. Thank you for your support. Thank you for watching my reviews of my new art supplies and books, which you sent me as my Christmas presents. I was totally spoiled. They arrived slightly later after our Christmas because of the mail delays, but the whole January I received a lot of beautiful gifts. So thank you for watching, and I hope that in February I still will manage to color something in my favorite books, and that I will manage to start some new books. Well, I wish you nice last months of winter. I hope that weather also will be good. And of course, I wish you all peace and happiness.